Today, I want to talk about a word that has quietly become my word of the year. I tend to do that every year organically. And the word this year is recalibration, not reinvention, not starting over, not fixing yourself. Recalibration, which is small, effective changes. Because sometimes life doesn't knock us completely off course, but it nudges us slowly out of alignment until one day we realize, I don't quite feel like myself anymore. And lately, with everything happening in the world, politically, culturally, emotionally, many of us are feeling that drift. So today, I want to talk about what recalibration actually looks like in real day-to-day life and why it may be one of the most important practices we can learn. Let's talk about it. Hi, friend. It's your favorite hypnotherapist / mind body coach. My name is Candy, and today we're going to talk about recalibration. And it always begins the same way, not with action, but with awareness. You have to start with awareness. You notice. You feel unsettled in your own skin, maybe, or your reactions feel bigger than you wanted them to be. Or you're consuming more fear than peace. You're tired in a way that sleep isn't fixing. Nothing's wrong, but something feels off. And that awareness is not something to ignore. It's intelligence, and it's your nervous system saying, hey, we're drifting. It's time to adjust. So lately I've been kind of feeling off. I couldn't put my finger on it. I'm like, something feels like it's not quite right. And I also feel in a way stuck in some areas where I'm like, why am I not moving forward in this area? Why do I want to, but I keep stalling for some reason and kind of feel like I'm not quite myself. One of the biggest misunderstandings that we can carry, especially those of us who are coming out of like a rigid belief system, is the idea that once we come out, we figure it all out and we stay fixed. But we're humans. We're not machines. We don't get set once and then we're done. We are living organisms. Living systems require adjustments. I mean, if you think about it, athletes recalibrate. They become aware something's a little slightly off. Then they become curious about it. Then they see what their options are, and then they make a move. They adjust. Pilots recalibrate. Musicians are tuning their instruments constantly, fine-tuning their skills. Why would emotional or spiritual life be any different? Recalibration isn't something you do when you've just blown it. Recalibration is something that you do because you're alive. You do it daily, or at least monthly. You're looking at yourself, always seasonally at least, looking and seeing what needs adjusted. And right now, many people are recalibrating because the outside world feels loud, it's uncertain, it's destabilizing. When fear rises externally, we can slowly become someone we don't recognize internally because we are reacting to that fear. So we become more reactive instead of responsive. We become maybe a little more rigid because we want that certainty rather than curious. And this creates exhaustion. Instead of a sense of being grounded, we're exhausted and we're kind of spinning and maybe even feeling a little out of control. Recalibration asks us a gentle question. Who do I want to be inside this moment? You're not ignoring reality. You're just refusing to lose yourself to it. So when I feel kind of out of it, I don't feel quite right. I don't see where I fit exactly. I'm not sure-footed. I become curious. What's going on? Where am I directing my attention? I know, what are the things I know to be true about me? Or what are the things I truly believe about humanity? And so in my case, you look around, I see a lot of fear. I see a lot of doom and gloom. And I did grow up in that kind of environment. Jesus is going to return. That was constantly pushed on us. So we were looking for problems in society. So I remember that. And it's almost like a go-to. And so this feels very familiar to that. There's a lot of just upheaval, a lot of unrest. And I'm not in that same religious kind of mindset. I don't believe in the same system I grew up in. So I have to ask myself, what do I believe is true? And I do believe in the goodness and the love at the core of humanity. Even though you can't see it with your eyes in a lot of ways, it is happening. So I remind myself of that. So I go through this little process. First, I just notice. I notice something feels off. I'm paying attention a lot of times to how I'm feeling in my body more than I ever used to. I'm paying attention to where my mind is drifting to when I feel something in my body. It could be that you pick up on your mind is there first and then you feel it in your body, or it can be vice versa. You feel it in your body and then you see where your thoughts are. So I tend to feel it in my body first. Something feels off. I don't get judgmental about it. I don't make any judgment calls. Now I get curious. I'm just observing. I notice it. And then I try to name it. What specifically feels misaligned? Am I taking in too much media? Is my energy feeling low? Are my relationships, is there a relationship that's struggling? Am I going too fast through life? Am I not having enough time to play, enough time to rest? What's my work life look like? And then I realign. So I notice, I name, and I realign, and I make small adjustments. I don't do dramatic changes. I do small adjustments because recalibration is just fine tuning. It's not demolishing something. It's not demolition. So notice, name, realign. And recalibration does not require new expertise. Most people already have the tools. They just have forgotten how to use them. So here's some examples. Like if you notice that it's your social media, like you feel really crappy after scrolling, step away from the constant news or the social media. You've got to have the courage to do the action. The action that's this inspired action. You feel the inspiration coming from within you. Like, I need to change something here. Something's got to shift. Then you got to follow through with the action. Maybe you spend more time out in nature to feel more grounded. Maybe you need time doing some breath work, some meditation, sitting in stillness, maybe some honest journaling where you get those emotions out, write out your fears, give them a name, say them so they're not so scary anymore. They don't just live in your head. Maybe you have a conversation with someone who feels safe. I'll do a little plug for myself. If you need that kind of space, I offer that space for you so that you can work through. That's what working with me is just me holding the space, non-judgmental space for you to have a sounding board, to just listen to yourself, put the stuff out on the table. Maybe I notice some patterns. Maybe I offer that to you, but you decide what you do with it. And then you come up with a plan and I work with you. So someone like that, maybe you need to just find more time to be creative and play. That for me has been something I've had to do lately is I love to craft. And I've just been like, I just need to get myself in the craft room and work with my hands and play and experiment and do those things. And I need to make a priority, not just if I have time kind of thing. And the goal of recalibration, of doing any of these things, is not to escape reality. It's just to return to your center so you're grounded and you're more effective out in society in helping. I mean, one of the things that you need to remember is that when you recalibrate, it means balancing two truths at once. Yes, like suffering and injustice does exist. There is no doubt about that. But also love, healing, and goodness exist and are growing at the same time because they are. More people are becoming aware of the things that were going on, and more people are wanting justice, and more people are healing and working on their own nervous system regulation. So recalibration allows you to stay aware without being consumed by it, to stay compassionate, but also not becoming hopeless or turning into someone you don't recognize because you become like those. You become what you see in others that you do not like. Like maybe they're spewing hateful words and then you spew hateful words towards them. That's not, for me, that's not something I want to do. So I'm trying to stay compassionate without becoming hopeless. I'm trying to stay human and not be reactive, but be more responsive. So I try to remind myself of the fact that goodness exists in the world too, in abundance. It really does. Right now, we've got spotlights on a lot of yucky stuff going on. But I try to notice in my day to day just the goodness, just when someone helps somebody else, when I see that, when I see somebody, even as small as holding a door for somebody they do not know, or allowing me to turn in traffic when there's a long line and letting me in, little things like that. I try to notice those because then I notice more of it and more of it instead of, what those in power who are trying to cause us to be so dysregulated. It is taking back that power by regulating yourself, not allowing them to do that to you. So if you take one thing from today, let it be this. You're not meant to stay perfectly aligned forever. Life moves, you move, you change, the world shifts. Your job is simply to notice and gently come back to yourself. Again, recalibrate over and over. And it's not a weakness, it's wisdom. If this resonates with you, please take a moment today to ask yourself, what small adjustment would bring me back into alignment? And if you want support learning how to regulate your nervous system and to connect with yourself, you can work with me through Candid Coaching Co. There are links in the description. Until next time, be gentle with yourself and remember that transformation isn't about perfection. It's about awareness, curiosity, and a little bit of courage. Remember, real change starts with one small step, and you don't have to take it alone.